going to complete our study on Revelation chapter 18. And before we start Revelation 18, let's go to Testimonies to Ministers, page 110, first paragraph.
When a point of doctrine that you do not understand comes to your attention,
Yes.
go to God on your knees, that you may understand what is truth and not to be found as were the Jews fighting against God.
Right. When a point of doctrine, that you do not understand. The very first thing is that the point of doctrine you don't understand it. Right? Yeah? So meaning we will have a lot of points of doctrines that we do not understand. The trouble is that God knows we do not understand everything. There are some things that we understand, and there are others that we don't understand as a people. There's no one who can raise up a hand and say, I know everything. So meaning there is something that you don't understand. The only person who knows everything is God.
Yes.
So here it's saying, when a point of doctrine that you don't understand, comes to your attention, the only solution is go to God on your knees.
Amen. Amen.
We have a problem of people who start arguing before going on their knees to God. And these are the problem. These are the people who make the messages of God, who nullify them. They make them of non-effect because they do not go to God on their knees. Where do they go? They start arguing. They start bringing preconceived ideas. They start bringing egotism. All those effects are to make sure the messages from God are of non-effect. When a point of doctrine that you do not understand comes to your attention, go to God on your knees and what?
That you may understand what is truth and not to be found as were the Jews fighting against God.
Were they fighting against Christ? Was Christ lying? When Christ was preaching, was he lying?
No.
But how many people were fighting his preaching?
Amen.
Now what else?
While warning man to beware of accepting anything unless it is truth.
This is a warning that comes from God. Do not accept anything. There is a warning. Beware of accepting anything unless it is truth. Do you know what is happening? People do not accept anything even when it is truth. The warning is don't accept anything unless it is truth. But some have taken it the other way around, of not accepting even the truth itself.
While warning man to beware of accepting anything unless it is truth, we should also warn them not to imperil their souls by rejecting messages of light, but to press out of darkness by earnest study of the Word of God.
While we want people not to accept anything, I've heard cries, do not accept, do not accept, do not. It's an incomplete cry. A complete cry says, do not accept anything unless it is truth. But also a warning says, do not imperil your life by rejecting the truth. There are two warnings there. Of not accepting anything unless it is truth. And another warning is, if it is truth, of imperiling your life by rejecting truth. Go to third paragraph for that same text. TM, Testimonies to Ministers, 110, page 110, third paragraph.
If a brother is teaching error, those who are in responsible positions ought to know it.
Right. If there is error, I've heard the so-called fashionable modern way. People just keep quiet. Yeah? Of seeing what is truth, they just keep quiet. They don't even acknowledge it's truth. But the views show, the views in a video anyway, show you were listening. If the internet can record that you listened, what about God? When a brethren is teaching anything, you are supposed to listen to see if it is truth. Yeah? We're in the middle of it, where it says we are all under obligation.
We are all under obligation to God to understand what He sends us.
Wait there. Did you hear?
Yes.
Whatever God is sending, whether it's by social media or by anyone preaching door to door or any tracts coming, you are obliged to understand what God is sending you.
He has given directions by which we may test every doctrine,
Right.
to the law and to the testimony.
Right.
If they speak not according to this way, it is because there's no light in them.
Do you know why modern methods are so increased of spreading the gospel? How do you spread the gospel? 1, social media. 2, by emails, WhatsApp, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. All those are methods that God has what? Created. Why did He create those methods? Because the very places where we were going to look for messages, the message is being blocked. If you lock your doors and say, do not come into this place and preach your message, God will open social media. God will open Instagram, Twitter, WhatsApp, everything, so that nobody under heaven can block God's message.
Amen.
So many people will be saved by these other methods than being saved by the very churches. Do you know that? Huh? When Christ's message, that Christ has been born, I can see that message never came through the church. Where did the message go through? The wise men herding cattle outside in the bush there. And the second time when Christ comes is the same. Instead of the bush, we have the social media. We have WhatsApp. We have Instagram. We have Twitter. That's all the avenues God has raised. Because man is naughty. Blocks the message. Read on. To the law.
To the law and to the testimony.
Right?
If they speak not according to this way, it is because there's no light in them.
Did you hear them saying, where do you worship? Did you see this text saying, where do you come from? Which church do you belong? Which division are you? Which one? Did it ask that? It says simply, to the law and to the testimony. That's your security. Our security is the law, not the names of the churches or the names of whatever. Our security is to the law and to the testimony. Because so many things have been emanating that if you do not speak according to so and so, who should nod his head and say you are correct? What should nod the head is the law and the testimony. Nobody else. So if I say, thou shalt not kill, check if it is in the Bible. If you can't find it in the Bible, check in the spirit of prophecy. If those two agree, you are safe. Thousands of books have been created to block the Bible. You say, this is your policy. What is your policy? It should have what is in the Bible. If the Bible is a true copy from God, that's enough. We don't need any interpretations. The Bible itself should be your policy.
Amen.
Because God knew that so many people will extract these copies and leave the very important things that are good for you to be saved. To the law and to the testimony.
If they speak not according to this way,
Yeah?
it is because there is no light in them.
Right.
But if it is according to this test, do not be so full of prejudice that you cannot acknowledge a point simply because it does not agree with
That's
your
where
ideas.
God has a controversy with people.
Yes.
They see the Bible says it, and the spirit of prophet says it, but still want to argue. Have you seen that?
Yes.
Yeah, we go witnessing about Sunday. The Bible says it's the Sabbath, it's Saturday, isn't it? But somebody say, yes, I've seen it Saturday, yes, I've seen it. But we want this other day. They say that, and still they continue to say about the Passover. Still they continue to say about the camp meeting. The verses and the Bible says the death, the spiritual prophet says the death, but still there's someone being obeyed. You know, it's the devil's way of dodging the truth. Having someone to be obeyed better than this Bible and the spirit of prophecy. Now, for us to understand Revelation chapter 18,
Yes.
we saw in the previous study that how many messages were supposed to be received by the church? 5 messages. Some are still on number 3. But you know the problem with number 3, which one is the third angel's message? The one that Sister White preached? If any man worship the what? Now the problem is that when you are still on number 3, the first angel's message, what does it say? Fear God. It was preached when? From 1831 to 1833. And then the next one in 1834. 44. Right? 1844, fallen. It was in the spring. Fallen because the churches refused to prepare for the advent of Christ. The second angel's message was preached. The third in 1844, when? In autumn. The third angel's message by Sister White, what does it say? If any man worship the beast. It's a warning for people not to worship the beast. You understand? Now, I want to ask you one question. Is there angel number 4?
Yes.
Or angel number 5?
Yes.
The problem is that when you have gone as far as angel number 3, you understand? You start now to think you are capable to argue with someone who has gone to angel number 4. That's the problem. It's like somebody arguing with somebody who has gone for O level and someone who has gone for A level. Who is superior then? And then you find people battling from O level, arguing with the A levels. That argument is useless. You need to go to A level to argue with an A level. And where's to find an A level arguing with somebody who has finished a degree? You don't understand. You have not had the degree. You have not had the degree. I told you that we had Isaiah chapter 11. It had 3 stages, isn't it? There shall come forth a what? A rod out of the stem of Jesse. And what? The branch shall go out of it, isn't it? Now, how many stages? We stem, rod, Jesse. Branch, isn't it? Now, if you find somebody at a higher level like that, arguing with somebody who is still on the stem, when a tree is grown, the branches there have another experience that the whole tree is not having. Is it? What are the branches experiencing? Leaves. Is it leaves? Does the stem or the rod, the tree, experience the same experience that the branches are having?
No.
Don't you learn from nature? And the stem, we said the stem is William Miller and Sister White. The first angel's message up to the third are the stem. And those are the 4 churches that had reformed. Yeah? Under Lutheran, under John Knox, under Wesley Brothers, and under Campbell for the Baptist. These are the churches that were reforming. And now William Miller comes as a reformer to those churches. But they were going to God's people, these messages, isn't it? Revelation, the first angel's message goes to God's people, isn't it? And then the next angel, which is Revelation chapter 14, verse 8. So William Miller again telling those churches, you have fallen. Isn't it? Why? They rejected his message of the coming of Christ. William Miller had predicted under Daniel chapter 8, verse 13 to 14, that under 2,300 days shall the sanctuary be cleansed. And the 2,300 days were starting from 457 BC to 1844. So he was predicting to those churches that 1844 Christ is coming. The event of the coming of Christ was a wrong one because it was only Christ entering in the Holy of Holies. Yeah? And we know it's a fundamental doctrine that Christ entered the Holy of Holies which year? 1844. The counting was correct. But the coming of Christ was the coming of Christ from the first heavens, from the third heavens to the first heavens. You know, first heavens is where the universal throne of Christ, of God and the Lamb, isn't it? Where he rules the whole universe, including the 11 planets that did not sin, and heaven and earth. But the earthly throne, where he rules the only planet which sinned is the earth, is the first heavens, where the throne was set in 1844. Thrones were set, we know, Daniel chapter 7, verse 9. You understand? Now I should be able to talk all these Bible verses like a story. You should speak as if it's a story you are telling. While you are reading all these verses, knowing them, mixing, and making sure you come up with their reality. You understand? So, in 1844, Christ entered the Holy of Holies, and this is the only throne that deals with the earth. But we saw, since he was entering in the Holy of Holies in 1844, the message now for the rejection of his coming, though he was not coming on earth, was rejected by those four churches. And they were called in Revelation 14 verse 8 by William Miller, fallen Babylon. They became Babylon, isn't it? Are they fallen from that state? Yes. Are they still fallen? Yes. But we still hear of a Babylon falling in Revelation 18. Yes. Why is there another Babylon falling in Revelation 18? Then there is someone future to them, which remained upright, which was the 1844 construction, organization. Only when it rejects a message like what this other four has done, then it also falls. There are some people who believe that they can't fall. But you can if you reject God's message. You are fallen as well. How did these other four fall? By rejecting a God-sent message. You understand? Now, the first angel's message, William Miller. Second angel's message, William Miller. Third angel's message, Sister White. But I'm telling you, there are not only three angels' message. There's still two more to make them five. Huh? Yes. Let's see if there are five. Word to the little flock. Just say WLF 10.5.
All classes of Second Advent believers agree that the angel brought to view in the 6th and 7th verses of this chapter represents the Advent message.
It's the 6th, Revelation 14, verse 6 and 7 is William Miller.
Represents the Advent message.
It was the Advent message.
To the church and the world.
It goes first to the
church
and next
to the world.
Right?
If this is true,
if that is true,
then all five of the angels brought to view in this chapter represent five distinct messages prior to the Advent.
Right?
Or we are left without a rule to interpret this chapter.
Right. Some will argue and say, oh, because Word to the Little Flock was written by James White, so we can't take, we only want Mrs. White. You know what? Those are funny arguments of just trying to evade a point.
Yes.
Let's hear what Sister White says about her husband writing that. Yeah? Go to 1T, page 75. We have had so many arguments because we have one by B.I.O. W.C. White wrote B.I.O., isn't it?
Yes.
Someone will argue and say, oh, it's her son who wrote there. Listen, don't find hooks to hang your arguments. Now, let's hear what Sister White says about James White writing that. Was James White just writing something that has not been approved by Sister White? My husband.
My husband would give a doctrinal discourse.
Right?
Then I would follow with an exhortation of considerable length.
Do you see what, when James White was presenting, what Sister White did? She would follow when the husband is preaching.
With an exhortation of considerable length.
Right?
Melting my way into the feelings of the congregation.
Melting my way into what the congregation are listening to.
Yes, my husband sowed.
Right?
And I watered the seed of truth.
Do you see?
And God did give the increase.
Do you see? So who was working there? James White and who? Ellen White and who? God will increase. Yeah? Go again. 3T, page 502. So don't be fooled by someone saying, oh, it's James White who wrote this. We don't listen to it. They were together when James White was preaching.
502.2.
Point 2.
God has permitted the
Right?
precious light of truth
Eh.
to shine upon his word.
Upon James White, isn't it? Is Sister White approving? God has permitted the precious light of truth to shine upon his word.
And illuminate the mind of my husband.
Do you see what Sister White says about her husband? So there is no argument to say, James, the word to the little flock was presented by James White. There is no argument there. Otherwise, Sister White would have nullified what James White was saying. And what?
He may reflect the rays of light
Right?
from the presence of Jesus upon others by his preaching and writing.
Do you see what he was doing? So James White and Sister White were together. So there is no argument there. Right. Go to 3T, page 85.2.
He has also given my husband great light upon Bible subjects.
Do you see what he had given? Do you see what God gave James White? He has also given my husband great light upon Bible subjects.
Not for himself alone,
Not for himself alone.
but for others.
Do you see?
I saw that these things should be written and talked out, and that new light would continue to shine upon the word.
Right. So we still talk about it. It's good to talk about it and preach about it. It has been approved by Sister White, who was there when James White was preaching. Yes. So James White says, all 5 angels are messages coming where? To the church. Otherwise, we are left with no rule to interpret those 5 angels. So meaning we have Revelation chapter 14, verse 6 to 7 as the first angel's message. Then Revelation chapter 14, verse 8 as a second angel. Revelation chapter 14, verse 9 as a third angel. Then we have Revelation chapter 14, verse 15 to 16. 14 to 16. Huh? Yes. As a what? Fourth angel. Let's go to Revelation chapter 14, verse 14.
Verse 14. And I looked, and behold, a white cloud. And upon the cloud, one sat like unto the Son of Man, having on his head a golden crown, and in his hand a sharp sickle.
Right. Do you see that there is an angel sitting on the cloud? Huh? What's the description of this angel? Start again, verse 14.
And I looked, and behold, a white cloud. And upon the cloud, one sat like unto the Son of Man,
Right?
having on his head a golden crown, and in his hand a sharp sickle.
What's the description of this angel?
Sitting as the Son of Man.
sitting as a son of man. Who is that? Are we sure Christ is bringing a message? Huh? We saw the angel which came to use William Miller, and twice, first and second angel. And then we saw the angel coming to use Sister White. Now we are seeing another angel after Sister White. But this description says, this angel is as a son of man. What is he having? A crown. What is he having? A sickle. If it's a crown, he's a king. If it's a sickle, he's coming to harvest. Those are the two things. And this description is the angel which Sister White says in early writing, page 277. Let's go.
I saw angels hurrying to and fro in heaven, descending to the earth and again ascending to heaven, preparing for the fulfillment of some important event. Then I saw another mighty angel.
Do you see it, Sister White? I'm seeing another mighty angel. Is the description corresponding to what Revelation 14, verse 14 and 15 is saying? Is it Christ that Sister White is seeing on early writings? Coming to use yet another prophet. Because we don't see angels.
No.
What do we see? People. When it was third angel, what did we see? Sister White. When it was first angel, what did we see? William Miller. When it was second angel, what did we see? William Miller. Now when it is this mighty angel, who do we see? Another mighty angel. We see another prophet.
Yes. Amen.
Huh? Huh?
Yes.
But the description has been said. So it means we have to see somebody who is being used by Christ himself. Bringing a message of sealing. What is sealing? Judgment begins in the house of God. This angel coming to put a seal to those who accept in the church is mighty angel. Using somebody that we think is somebody. Isn't it? But what is behind that somebody? An angel higher than these other angels, who is like a son of God. If that description went to the little flock in page 10.5, says it's another angel bringing a message to the church, then who is behind that prophet? It's Christ. Now, if you say it's not coming to our church, it's going outside in other churches, you are refusing a mighty angel now. You accepted those other ones that are not mighty like this one. Yeah? What happened when this mighty angel came?
I saw angels hurrying to and fro in heaven, descending to the earth and again ascending to heaven, preparing for the fulfillment of some important event.
Right?
Then I saw another mighty angel commissioned to descend to the earth, to unite his voice with the third angel, and give power and force to his message. Great power and glory were imparted to the angel, and as he descended, the earth was lightened with his glory.
Now, there is another verse which we want to discuss here. Luke chapter 12, verse 39.
And this know, that if the good man of the house had known what hour the thief would come, he would have watched, and not have suffered his house to be broken through. Be therefore ready also, for the Son of Man cometh at an hour when ye think not.
You know when he entered in the Holy of Holies? He entered now to start what is called judgment, investigative judgment, which is in two phases. First for the dead, next for the living. Do you understand? Now for the dead, since 1844 when Sister White was preaching, the investigative judgment for the dead started. But there is still investigative judgment for the living, which was supposed to start after the investigative judgment for the dead. This coming of Christ, that beware, is coming as a thief. Are you with me?
Yes.
It's not the coming to take the saints. I've heard people referring to this verse and saying, Christ, nobody knows the day, because the coming of Christ in the clouds will be announced. It will be announced. We will know prior to coming. Is it true?
Yes.
Is it true?
Yes.
I want you to open from early writing, page 14, paragraph 1, at the end.
Soon we heard the voice of God like many waters,
Right?
which gave us the day
Right.
and hour of Jesus coming.
Right. Do you see the coming of Christ? We will know the day and the hour, isn't it? It's not coming as a thief. We will know. But this coming in Luke chapter 12, verse 39 and verse 40, we said, Be ye therefore ready. Also, for the Son of Man cometh an hour when ye think not. Is not the second coming of Christ. Because that second coming of Christ, we will know. You heard early writing, page 14, saying we will be told, isn't it? But which coming is this one, where we should be ready because we won't be told? Which one? Is the coming, is the investigative judgment of the living.
Amen.
For we know from 1844, he entered to do the investigative judgment for the dead. But when he precedes the investigative judgment of the living, nobody will know. You should be ready for it. Huh? That's Luke chapter 12. It's getting us ready for the investigative judgment for the living. For we will be judged before he appears in the cloud. Are we not being sealed? And what is the sealing? It's a judgment. Once you receive the seal of God, already you are for the book of life, isn't it? So it's this judgment where you receive the seal is the one that he gives a warning. Be ye ready. Huh? For when he enters into the judgment for the seal, for the living, for the living, on earth what is happening? There is a work of receiving the seal. So there is a message already, which he says, be ready. But the way you behave when you make the message, which is to judge you, which should get you when you are ready. Some of you are rejecting it before listening to it. So you're not ready. How many souls are being lost after rejecting messages? How many? How are we going to get the seal? By receiving a message. Is it?
Yes.
What is a seal? The settling into truth. Which truth? Someone is preaching that truth for sealing. Be ye ready. For you will be caught up when you are not ready. But not the coming of Christ. The coming of Christ, we will be told. Isn't it? Now, I gave you GC, Great Controversy, page 483. We want to see his coming as a thief. Is he really going to have two judgments, like the investigative judgment for the dead, which started in 1844? And is he still going to continue with the investigative judgment for the living?
As the books of record are opened in the judgment, the lives of all who have believed on Jesus come in review before God.
Right?
Beginning with those who first lived upon the earth.
Hang on. Who are those who lived on earth? The death of Abel.
Yeah.
That's the first one to die, isn't it? What investigative judgment is that? For the dead. This is the one that begins. And
Beginning with those who first lived upon the earth.
right?
Our advocate presents the cases of each successive generation.
Do you see?
And closes with the living.
It closes with the living. Which one is the latest? The living. The investigative judgment for the living is the last one. This is the one that Luke chapter 12, verse 40 says, Be ye ready for the hour of your judgment. The hour the Son of Man comes into your life to judge your name. Let's read on.
And Every name is mentioned.
Do you see when you come to the investigative judgment of the living, every name is mentioned. When you are John, when you are Peter, you are mentioned by name. Whatever your name is, this is the investigative judgment of the living. While you are walking about, your name is being spoken of.
Every name is mentioned. Every case closely investigated.
Closely? What is being investigated? Did this person receive a message? Did you see a message on YouTube? On Facebook? On a tract? Did you read the Bible? Did you read about the coming of Christ? Did you prepare? Were you told what to do? Did you hearken to the voice? Right?
Names are accepted.
Right?
Names are rejected.
What makes that? Is the message which was given to you, and then you are scrutinized whether you received it or whether you rejected it, or whether I have seen people worrying about who is presenting. Like when you say, it's a woman. It's a woman. I won't bother a woman. Especially most people, they do not want to see a woman preaching, isn't it? Even Sister White didn't want. They didn't want to hear us preaching. Remember, I will give you a verse which says so. You want to know the verse? The quotation where she was worried about being a woman. You worry about nonsense when the message is in front of you. You worry about nonsense. Testimony for the Church, Volume 1, page 75:1.
Most of our meetings were held in private houses.
Do you see what was happening with Sister White?
Our congregations were small. It was seldom that any come into our meetings except Adventists, unless they were attracted by curiosity to hear a woman speak.
What was attracting them? Curiosity to see a woman preaching. You worry about all that? You still worrying about that?
At first, I moved out timidly in the work of public speaking. If I had confidence, it was given me by the Holy Spirit. If I spoke with freedom and power, it was given me of God. Our meetings were usually conducted in such a manner that both of us took part.
Why was she going with her wife? Her husband. Why? Why? So that the message is accepted. Why was she worried? Because if they saw a woman, they wouldn't accept the message. That's why Sister White was going along everywhere with her husband. It is known amongst our people. It is known amongst our people. They do not want a woman to preach. But not in other people. Other churches, they accept. But with Sister White, she had that problem. And if God is going to bring a message, if he sees that's where your catch is, he will bring a message with via a woman to test whether you want the message or you want the instrument. Yeah? That's Sister White had that problem. Let's hear more of that problem.
My husband would give a doctrinal discourse, and then I would follow with an exhortation of considerable length.
You see, there are times when she was just sitting and allow the husband to say out, so that she may please these people who had a narrow mind, which will say amen to a man and no amen to a woman. Amen to you see how hey. Now, if God knows that's what you think, will bring a message via a woman. Why was she doing that? All that tactics. Why? Because she knew the mentality of our people. What mentality do we have? Primitive mentality. That a woman should be kept pregnant and barefooted in the kitchen. That's a primitive mentality. Even the world doesn't do that. The world say equal rights. But that is a stumbling block in some people. And the message which God brings will bypass people. Yeah. Even in some places where I live, you see buses being driven by women. And then I said, amen, God. But in other places, it's just men only. They're still sexists. Huh? That this job is for a woman, this job is for a man. But in other place, the woman is driving a big bus, a lorry, woman. Yeah. What's wrong with that? Is there no clash? Or if it's these days, it's even better. There's an auto. You just put the light on, the engine on, the key on, and the bus is going on its own. So what's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? Huh? When it needs turning, you just, huh? You think it needs a man, that one? No. It needs both men and women, isn't it? If they make a bus for men and women, what about preaching? Eh? Now, every name, GC, where you left.
Every name is mentioned.
Right.
Every case closely investigated.
Right.
Names are accepted.
Do you see?
Names are rejected.
That's why there is a warning in Luke chapter 12. Names are accepted. Names are rejected.
When any have sins remaining upon the books of record, unrepented of and unforgiven, their names will be blotted out of the book of life.
Right.
And the record of their deeds will be erased from the book of life.
Do you see what happens when Christ is in the Holy of Holies, in the phase of the judgment for the living? He says, beware, I come as a what? As a thief. It's not the coming on earth. The coming on earth, it doesn't come as a thief because you had early writing, page 14, announcing his coming, isn't it? But the coming to the investigative judgment of the living, what warning is this? When Christ in 1844 entered the Holy of Holies, and Sister White was the third angel's message, warning us that now he has gone into the Holy of Holies. So Sister White was a prophet, whilst Christ was in the Holy of Holies, in the judgment phase of the dead. Huh?
Yes.
Now when he goes in the judgment phase of the living, is it still Sister White? She saw another mighty angel coming. Is she telling us there is still another prophet?
Yes.
Judgment of the dead needed a prophet. Yes. Judgment of living need also a prophet. Otherwise, we have no rule to interpret both judgments. Huh? And then is judgment of the living. Revelation 18. You should know the timing of Revelation 18. Which one is it? Coming to the people. To join the third angel. What was the third angel doing? The third angel, Sister White, was preaching while Christ was in the Holy of Holies, in the judgment phase of the dead. But in the judgment phase of the living is Revelation chapter 18. Who is doing the judgment in heaven? Is Christ doing the harvest by sending a sealing process through another angel, through another messenger on earth.
Amen.
If he needed a messenger on earth for the judgment of the dead, he also needs a messenger on earth for the judgment of the living. That's Revelation 18. Where does it come? To the church. To join with the third angel. That's what early writing said. Go repeat early writing, page 277.
I saw angels hurrying to and fro in heaven, descending to the earth and again ascending to heaven, preparing for the fulfillment of some important event. Then I saw another mighty angel commissioned to descend to the earth, to unite his voice with the third angel,
Right.
and give power and force to his message.
Right.
Great power and glory were imparted to the angel as he descended. And as he descended, the earth was lightened with his glory. The light which attended this angel penetrated everywhere. And as he cried mightily with a strong voice, Babylon the great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and the cage of every unclean and hateful bird. The message of the fall of Babylon, as given by the second angel, is repeated.
Listen to that. What is being repeated? The message of the fall of Babylon. Now we saw in Revelation chapter 14 verse 8, William Miller preached to those 4 churches as a second angel's message. Huh?
Yes.
That second angel's message is being repeated in our time after Christ goes in the Holy of Holies. Now that's what Sister White is saying. Read on. The message of the fall of Babylon.
The message of the fall of Babylon, as given by the second angel, is repeated with the additional mention of the corruptions which have been entering the churches since 1844.
Right?
The work of this angel comes in at the right time to join his message, to join his last great work of the third angel's message as it swells into a loud cry. And the people of God are thus prepared to stand in the hour of temptation which they are soon to meet.
The Revelation chapter 18 comes at the right time. When Sister White is dead, with the judgment of the dead, the judgment of the living takes first. And which one is the judgment of the dead? Of the living? Revelation chapter 18 comes at the right time to begin what is called the loud cry.
Amen.
Where does the loud cry start from? There is no thing that comes which starts from outside. Even Old Testament, check. Anything didn't start with the Gentiles. They started with the Judah first, isn't it? Then outside. Yeah? Now with the messages, they start again where? In the church. And what happened next? Outside. Now the loud cry starts in the church. Huh? Judgment for the living starts in the church, isn't it? That's the loud cry. It starts where? In the church. And then where next? To the world. To the world. So that's why judgment begins in the house of God. That 1 Peter chapter 4 verse 17 refers to judgment of the living. Huh?
Amen.
And we know judgment of the living is Revelation 18. Or in Revelation 14, which phase is Revelation 18? It's Revelation 14 verse 14 to 17. That's Revelation 18. You should understand. All these angels coming in the book of in the prophecy, you should know where they apply.
Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
You should know where this is the loud cry. Which one is it? Yeah? Let's go to 8T, page 252, second paragraph.
The coming of Christ is nearer than when we first believed.
Right?
The great controversy is nearing its end. The judgments of God are in the land.
Wait. Are they in the land?
Yes.
Jews do hear of disasters, of calamities, of people being killed everywhere. What does it warn us? The judgment of God are in the land. Huh? Are they in the land? They?
The great controversy is nearing its end. The judgments of God are in the land. They speak in solemn warning, saying, "Be ye also ready, for in such an hour as ye think not, the Son of Man cometh."
When you hear of disasters, what is the warning? Be ready. You understand? This is to shake your ears. Be ye ready, the Son of Man is coming. Yeah? Floods, tornadoes, hurricanes, all that is a warning from above. Be ready. Isn't it? Yes. Matthew chapter 24, verse 44. Where you were reading 80:252, go to third paragraph. But there are many.
But there are many in our churches who know little of the real meaning of the truth for this time.
Is it true? Yes. In our church? There are many in our churches who know little of the real meaning of the truth for this time. If you ask, what is the truth for this time? They mention the truth that was in the judgment of the dead. What was in the judgment of the dead? The Sabbath. When Sister White started in 1844, what was her message? The Sabbath. Change the Sabbath from Sunday to Sabbath. That's what was her message, isn't it? And when you ask somebody this time, in this period, will tell you that message. That is our message. But did not know that the message progresses to the judgment of the living. Or the 10 virgins, they all had one message, isn't it? They had the message of the Sabbath. Huh? But an additional light came to others, which 5 wise received, and the 5 foolish neglected. So some will have additional light, some don't. Now let's read on. I appeal.
I appeal to them not to disregard the fulfilling of the signs and the times, which say so plainly that the end is near.
Every sign. Go outside there. What are the signs of the coming of Christ? Tell me. You know, people don't know the signs of coming Christ. I've mentioned disasters, hurricanes, tornadoes, and everything. There's another sign. What's the sign? Nation rising against nation. That's the sign, isn't it? What about our children? Disobedient to parents. That's a sign. It's unfortunate if they are there, the children who disobey, they are fulfilling that sign anyway. And what about spiritual? What's the sign? The message for this time, for the end time, should be the message of the kingdom. Matthew 24, verse 14, you know that, isn't it? So when you hear about the feast and the statues being kept, it's a message of the end.
Amen.
We should know this. Many people do not know the message for this time, or even the condition of the world this time.
Oh, how many?
How many?
We have sought their soul salvation. Will soon make the bitter lamentation. The harvest is past.
The summer is ended.
And we are not saved.
Finish. I pray that you and I would be found in the book of life when the earth is coming to an end.